Coming up on Mountain News this morning, new data released by the CDC shows promising results for Kentucky after legalizing Narcan. And an Eastern Kentucky woman is representing the region as the newest Kentucky Bar Association president.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, I'm Olivia Calfee. We are coming up on 6:30 on Wednesday, May 29th. Now let's go ahead and send it over to meteorologist Tim Drawbridge for a look at your forecast this morning.
Hard to believe we're almost done with May, right? Some areas of fog to start off on our Wednesday morning. 54 outside our door here at WYMT, and the visibility really hasn't changed here over the last hour and a half, 90 minutes plus. The visibility down in Harlan County is a little bit on the low side this morning. It has fluctuated and dropped again toward Logan, 7-mile visibility, Ashland, and out toward Williamsburg, where temperatures are pretty much in the 50s region-wide, 60 though at Monticello. All right, a little wrinkle rotating through the flow, some cloud cover issues in the overnight period, and a shower that ended up scooting across central southern Perry County, now out toward the I-81 corridor. And again, for today, the areas of fog this morning burn off, a sunny to partly cloudy sky, and the slightest risk of a shower or thunder shower from Jackson and Hazard points east and north. A high today up to 72. More about the First Alert 7-day forecast and a sign of summer's return. That's coming up in just a few moments. Olivia?
All right, Tim, thank you. New data from the CDC shows that overdose deaths are dropping nationwide, down 3% from December of 2022 to December of 2023. In Kentucky, those tragedies have reduced by nearly 8%, while outpacing the national average. Jeremy Toms looked at how people are working together to save lives.
Pre-COVID, Kentucky's overdose deaths were declining year after year.
As a pandemic spread across the Commonwealth, so too did waves of tragedy stemming from a different source.
In February of 2020, we had days that our ambulances weren't making a run. And when COVID happened, that number went to 6 to 7 overdoses a day.
But the latest CDC data indicates both Kentucky and the country may be turning a corner.
Kentucky is more than twice the national average in terms of a reduction in overdose deaths.
Fayette County Coroner Gary Ginn tells me that Lexington's decline is even sharper than both the state and the nation, down from 210 overdose deaths in 2022 to 179 in 2023. That mark is also the city's lowest since at least before the pandemic.
It kind of reinforces what we're doing. You may have a bad day or a bad week, but when you see a report like this, it kind of recharges the batteries a little bit.
Seth Lockard captains the community paramedicine program with Lexington Fire.
Within 24 to 72 hours after an overdose, we're knocking on individuals' doors to provide them the support that they need.
They've purchased thousands of Narcan doses, initiated a Leave Behind program, and more.
Narcan is more readily available. People in Kentucky now know that treatment on demand exists. Addiction, it affects the entire person. And so it takes a full comprehensive effort.
Fortunately, Matt Brown with ARC Recovery Centers feels the state has all the tools it needs to continue this trend.
And it would be critically important that we don't spike the football too early because there are lives depending on it.
Jeremy Toms, WYMT Mountain News.
Kentucky's Office for Drug Control Policy is set to release its own annual data in June. The state also has a new website, findnaloxone.ky.gov, to help those who need it find Narcan. 3 people are accused of setting a house on fire to collect insurance money. State police say they got a call from Barberville police about a fire investigation on Pitzer Street. They say 3 people admitted to starting the fire. 58-year-old Ann Sloan, 66-year-old Donnie Sloan, and 56-year-old Beatrice Isaac, all of Barberville, are charged with arson and wanton endangerment. Someone living in the basement was able to escape without being injured. And 2 people are facing charges after police in Harlan County say they were trafficking drugs. It happened last Friday when Harlan County Sheriff's deputies were conducting an investigation. When deputies tried to serve a warrant at a home in Cold Iron, they found Robbie Johnson hiding in a bedroom. They also found suspected meth and other drug paraphernalia. Caitlin Wynn was also taken into custody on a Harlan Circuit Court indictment for drug trafficking charges. Police in Laurel County are asking for help finding a person regarding a theft case. Take a look at your screen. This is the woman that the London Police Department is looking for. If you have any information about the case, you are asked to contact the London Laurel 911 Center at 606-878-7000. The cleanup continues after rounds of severe storm during the long holiday weekend. Hazard City Manager Tony Eversole says they had boots on the ground almost immediately following the severe weather. He says calls coming in are mainly about downed trees, but wants to remind folks that not all downed trees are the city or county's responsibility.
You always got to worry about right-of-ways and whose property it's on, and we can't go on private property and cut something. But when the storms hit and it blows their stuff and blocks our county streets and our city streets, we get run on it and we try to get clear.
5 deaths in Kentucky were blamed on the storms. None of those were in eastern Kentucky. The National Weather Service surveyed damage in Mercer County yesterday. They say strong winds knocked down trees and even caused 1 death. But it was not a tornado. There was widespread damage throughout the county, particularly in the Bergen community. Earlier this week, we told you about a woman who was killed after a tree fell through her home. The coroner did release her name yesterday afternoon, identifying her as 67-year-old Julie Sterling. And it's not just folks in eastern and central Kentucky cleaning up from the storms this past weekend. Folks in western Kentucky are still reeling as well. Governor Beshear has called on the Kentucky National Guard to help the Division of Forestry. They are in the hardest hit areas out in the western part of the state, like Hopkins and McLean counties. Some service members are also helping fire departments out in those areas. Folks in West Virginia trying to get FEMA assistance from the early April storms will hopefully have an easier time doing so thanks to some changes. FEMA says they've moved to a simplified application process that they hope will get money to people faster. They say the process has been streamlined and they have also expanded access.
The application process in the past, you would come to FEMA, fill out documentation, then go to the Small Business Administration, fill out documentation, and we have consolidated all of that to reduce steps in the process.
A state federal disaster recovery center was set to open yesterday morning at the Tyler Mountain Fire Department in Charleston. Yesterday marks 1 week since the May primary election, and one of the big races was the Knott County wet dry vote, which made the county wet. Knott County Clerk Reese Cornett says it will take several months for an ABC office to be created and licenses to be approved before folks in Knott County will start to see the sale of alcohol. Kentucky State Police Trooper Matt Gayhart says they will continue to patrol the county and reminds people to drive sober or get pulled over.
We oftentimes refer to the legal limit of being our threshold, which is a .08. People don't understand that is our per se limit, which meaning that is when you're presumed intoxicated by the courts. Impairment can take place as low as half that legal limit, maybe even lower.
Gayhart says age, height, weight, and tolerance levels are all factors that go into the limit folks can drink before being considered an impaired driver. One Pikeville attorney is entering a new position, hoping to help other attorneys in the region connect across the Commonwealth. WYMT's Buddy Forbes shares more about her recent swear-in to the Kentucky Bar Association.
For the first time in more than 40 years, the Kentucky Bar Association has an Eastern Kentuckian at the helm.
It's about time, and so I'm proud to be that representative for Eastern Kentucky. I'm proud to bring it back.
Rhonda Blackburn is the incoming president, seeing the volunteer position as an opportunity to serve.
It is so important, and somebody has to do it, and I'm proud to do it. I'm proud to do it as a native Eastern Kentuckian, native of Pikeville, and I want to get more people involved.
Blackburn hopes to highlight the association's efforts to provide continued education to attorneys and its increased focus on mental health resources.
Being an attorney is an extremely stressful job, because you have everybody's problems sitting on your shoulders many times. And because of that, there is a high incidence of substance abuse and, frankly, suicide.
Hoping to shift the narrative about what people may think of when they consider the association by spreading the word throughout the Commonwealth.
I know a lot of people think about Kentucky Bar Association as discipline, but it's so much more than that. And I want to make sure everybody knows what we're offering so they can take advantage of it.
An authority of regulations and resources with its leader rooted in the region. In Pikeville, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
Blackburn says taking the position means a lot more work, but since her employees at Pikeville Medical Center are supportive of the time she needs, she can focus on getting resources to attorneys across the state.
A good Wednesday to you. Some visibility issues this morning, but not as widespread as what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. Some mornings down at Harlan, you may object to that thought. Visibility about quarter mile or less. And temperature-wise, it is 55 at Harlan, and we're in the 50s region-wide. A little bit cool as you make your way across the state line. There's a few of you in the upper 40s over by Clintwood and Wise. In contrast, where it's 60 at Monticello, 61 at Jacksboro. Little wrinkle rotating through the flow in the overnight period. Shower, central southern Perry County, tracked over toward Norton, now out in western portions of Virginia. And for today, kind of the same thing. Little wrinkle rotating through the flow. Pop-up shower or thunder shower, otherwise a lot of sunshine and a high of close to 72. A return to a summertime feel to the air. You got to wait a few days. Details with the first alert 7-day forecast coming up in a few moments. Olivia?
Thanks, Tim, and thank you for joining us. The time is now 6:40. Still to come on Mountain News this morning. Crime reduction is on the mind of voters everywhere, but we'll take a look at how valid their fears are.